right, coach, we're taking a look here at hurdle walkovers. These are to be performed if the marching popovers don't look too good. If their limbs go to the left and right and they don't really have the control over their limbs, over their legs in particular, then you want to backtrack and you want to perform hurdle walkovers. All right, start with the hurdles extra low. So these are 24 inches. So that nobody has to worry about actually clearing the height of the hurdle. All right, that's why these collapsible hurdles are important. Those 30 inches are going to be a little too tall for most hurdlers to start with. All right, so we got 24 inches here, and we're working to pick the foot straight up and drive the foot straight back down. We don't want to kick the leg forward. We don't want the leg to go left. We don't want the leg to go right. All right, straight up, straight down, maintaining dorsiflexion. All right, and we can see here that the athletes have work to do. All right, so I'm seeing a lot of left and right. All right, and that is exposed at full speed. All right, so the minor stuff here is major when they're full race height and they're running full speed. So this is a lead leg drill, all right? And the leg kicks to the right, the knee kicks to the right, and then it's back in line. And so he's doing the same thing at full speed, all right? And so this begins with the hips right here. So in the weight room, he has to do hip thrusts, he has to do lunges, he has to do step-ups to stabilize this through all his movements, all right? Simply performing these walkovers, that's going to help, yes, of course. But there's still a step that we can go further back, which is the weight room to really strengthen these hips, all right? So we'll look at that stuff later, all right? For these hurdle walkovers, we need to be diligent about going forward and coming straight up and driving straight back down. Even a little bit to the left is wrong, all right? So here's the thing. He's too close, all right? And even when they give themselves a little space, they're still going to do this. It's because their hip flexor, all right? Their hip flexor is tightening and they feel a strain, right? And so they back out of that, and they do that by going to the left or going to the right or opening the limbs up, but not keeping that straightforward line, right? And so that's what we're working on here. And that's why they have to be 24 inches to start or even lower. All right, so this is pretty good. It's a direct forward, but the foot is like caving inwards, right? And that's the lack of control because she doesn't have the dorsiflexion down. Right, so she has to really get the dorsiflexion down, and then she's going to be flying because everything else is in place there. She's real fluid with movements, right? We can see here that, hey, she got the idea down, going straight forward, all right? But without the dorsiflexion, we lose all the power. So it doesn't matter how good it looks. If she was rated the #1 hurdle technician in the entire universe, but she didn't have dorsiflexion, it would be for nothing, all right? And so we have to get that dorsiflexion on. But this is really good here, all right? Next, right here, same thing, kicking out to the left, all right? And that's because he didn't give himself enough space. And even when he does give himself the space, he's going to feel the hip flexor on the front side of his body tighten up, and he's going to want to back away from that, all right? And so that's what we got. That was better, number 2. Right? Number 2 was better. Straight up. A little better, right? It still went to the left a little bit. And down. And this one will make progress, right, in improving his hurdle technique and running faster. And this one won't. A lead leg to execute, doesn't matter what you do. You lost so much time right here. Right? When the foot should have been facing forward, instead it's way over here taking the scenic route, right? And so it adds up over 10 hurdles. All right, so second hurdle is better. And then third hurdle, same thing, still a little to the left. And the fourth, same thing, still a little to the left. And then still a little to the left. All right? And that matters. And that matters. When we're talking about running to the finish line, they count to the 1,000th, right? They count to the 1,000th of a second. And so every little movement adds time, right? And we want to take the least amount of movements to get to that finish line, not the most amount of movements, all right? And so it's good. It's a good start, but he's got to be diligent, right? Perfect it at 24 inches, and then when you go to 27, guess what? You got to re-perfect it. And then when you go to 30, guess what? You got to re-perfect it again, all right? But this is a good start here, all right? Now we got the youngest, but she can still walk over these pretty easily, all right? But the hips are twisting after landing right there. Hips twisted all the way, all right? Watch the hips, all right? Up, over, and now there's this big twist. And that has to be eliminated. That has to be eliminated. That's why we got to do the hip thrust. That's why we got to do the lunges. That's why we got to do the step-ups. Because we want, imagine this is a box, all right? The box should never tilt left or right or forward or back. The box should always stay perfectly level through all movements. That's the kind of exaggeration that we're trying to have, all right? That's how we go improving, by having that exaggeration. And so hers goes back to the functional strength. She's got this down. But guess what? She's going to reach that next height, 27, and these hips are going to turn even more. And now we're not going to be able to get over it right. Or if so, the upper body is going to start turning with it in order to try and get over the height. And so it has to be addressed here at these low heights, right? But that was still pretty good. But we got to get the functional strength work. All right, here we go. Same thing, lead leg. Ooh, that's a lot of twisting. A lot of twisting. And she's flexible enough and she's strong enough that she can get away with these kinds of movements and probably still run fast, but we're losing time, all right? So here's the opposite. She went inside. Knee, heel, and toes inwards, all right? And it's the same thing. Doesn't matter if it goes inwards or left or outwards. It needs to go forward, and it needs to go up and down, and it should never deviate left or right. And so, need reps. This is why this is done, in September. Got to be straightforward. Give yourself the space. Get comfortable with that hip flexor tightening up. There's no other way, all right? And then here we go. Same thing right here. Look at the foot to the left. Up, and then it comes back forward. All right, and then into the next one. Same thing. It's slightly, but it matters. It's slight, but it matters. Because on the way to the track, her knee decided to go a little leftwards. Now, this was better. All right, so the third one was better. All right, still could get taller. All right, so we go left there, and we go a lot left on the first one. All right, so the first one was the most exaggerated. Then she got a little better there. And now this is the little better again. Same thing, though. Still going out to the left. All right, so it needs to be fixed. Now, it's not so bad. For now, this is good enough that she's still going to be able to run fast and win a lot of races. But in an ideal situation, right, if you're trying to be the absolute best on the entire planet, then this needs to be cleaned up here. All right, but this is pretty good. All right, now we're on to the trail leg side. All right, but we don't execute this like a trail leg. All right, we execute it like a lead leg, because what we're trying to do is develop the strength at the hip flexor right here on her right side of the body when her right knee goes up. And when they're on this side, it was this hip flexor that was tightening up and getting tense. And she needs to get comfortable with that and relax in that and not having it tighten up like that so that she can stay fluid through the entire movement. All right? And so it's the same thing, straight up, straight down, going out to the right. And same thing with the dorsiflexing issue. Dorsiflexing inwards, which means she doesn't have the control of it. All right? She's thinking about the angle of it, lifting the toe up, but we need to have that sensation of power, like when you ball your fist up. You need to have that sensation at the ankle. and she doesn't have that right now. All right, and so she just needs to get the reps in for that. All right, but it's the same thing. Straight up, straight down. Any deviation left or right is wrong. This is all the way a trail leg. That's all the way a trail leg. And so we got to slow it down, give ourselves space. Same thing. That one got a little better. Got a little better. All right. We need to go straight forward, straight forward, straight forward so that this funny sensation at the hip flexors goes away and it gets comfortable. Right. You have full control over the movement. All right. And so here we go. Same thing. She's more than strong enough, but the movements aren't there. Hips are twisting. Hips are twisting. So first, she needs the functional strength in the weight room. And then we need to maybe lower these to 21 inches and make sure it's perfectly up, perfectly down. And then go to 24 and then 27. And then ultimately we're trying to get to race height. All right. And so everybody could use some of these. The further out from the competition season, the better. All right. All this technical stuff, you need to get this stuff done in the off season when you don't have a meet, nowhere close by, nowhere near. All right, no time soon. You know what I'm trying to say. All right, and so we got all the way trail leg here, all the way, because that lead leg is stepping up like almost in front of the hurdle. All right, so we gotta slow it down. Slow it down, execute it as if it is a lead leg. All right. All right, so this is pretty good here. All right, still going out to the right just a little bit. Still going out to the right just a little bit. And the dorsiflexion is off too, right? Because she's dorsiflexing with the toe inward, which means she doesn't really have it. She's trying to do it. She's conscious of it, but it's not really there. Because if it was, the toes will be pointed to the right, all right, which would ball the fist up right here at the ankle. But, right, all that concentration is causing the lack of coordination right there. And then we don't really have it. So we'd have to work on this, all right? But this was still pretty good. Still pretty forward and pretty up and down, but it still needs to be better. It needs to be, right, if we're trying to be perfectionist, then it needs to be actually perfect. Actually perfect. Actually no deviation left or right, all right? And so good, but still got work to do. All right, last one here, same thing. That's an all the way trail leg there. And we're trying to slow it down. That was better. So he caught himself and he was like, oh, let me slow it down, give myself the space, make sure I go directly forward, which he tried, and that was better. And we need to keep giving that effort. And that right there was rushed. So on this rep, he thought about getting over the hurdle more so than driving in a straight line. And so we got that whipping effect over. All right, got to work on that. All these things, got to work on them. Now, very briefly, we do these with the arms to the right and to the left to start with. Because if we hadn't, then this would be 5 times worse. Because the balance issues, he'd be left and right. And now we got to time the arms with the legs. And like, we want to get the reps in. We want the body to start adapting to what's right. All right. And when we're constantly having to struggle for the balance because the arms are in the equation, then we just take up time. All right. So we got some good reps in. Whereas if we would have started by swinging the arms, we would have gotten a half an hour of frustrations and trying to teach people, oh, wait, this is the balance. This is the timing with the arms. All right. We're always backtracking and simplifying it even further so that these kids go getting what they actually need. All right. And so arms out to the side, arms straight forward. And then once they have the up and down and the dorsiflexion, then we can put the arms into the equation. All right. So it's recommended you do the same with your athletes. This is hurdle walkovers. This is going to clean up the hurdle technique so that they drive in a straight line towards that hurdle. In the next video, we're going to take a look at what you're supposed to do after you start getting this down. All right. Once you get a straight line forward, a straight line up. Now it's time to start adapting to race height. So we're going to look at that in the next video. Questions, comments, let me know. I will speak to you soon.